with the first plenary session, Contemporary Leadership for the Challenges of Today and Tomorrow. To introduce this session, let us welcome on stage Dr. Aphrodite Spanu, Director Healthcare and Life Science of the Department of Business and Trade, UK, United Kingdom.
Good morning. Bon dia, Lisboa Bonita. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm delighted to be able to participate in another amazing event. We had a successful event with IHF and its members and the world really last year in Dubai. It's a great pleasure to be in Portugal this year to explore new areas, challenges that we face and identify common solutions. You would agree with me, Tedros gave a very inspiring and insightful sort of view of the priorities that health systems face. And it is important to consider that we're not alone, that we're all together to collaborate and come up with solutions that can assist our systems. So talking about contemporary leadership, that's the theme of the day. We have an esteemed panel who will be joining us shortly. It's important to talk about the tools, mechanisms and applications that can assist us to become more adaptive, more transformational, more insightful, to become better at navigating a constantly and rapidly changing environment. And we know in health systems the environment is a challenge every day, and every day is different. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. It's not every day that we meet, we're able to do that and discuss ideas, experiences, and how we can find solutions to challenges. You will hear it's important to talk about the mantras, the specific visions, if you like, the specific areas that motivates a leader. Leadership is a key component. It might not be science in the traditional sense. I've studied public health and everything has to be sort of scientifically sort of correlating, but leadership also, it's a skill, it's a qualitative skill that we need to gain to be able to corral efforts across systems, teams, and as individuals. So it's key components really that it's important to consider, and I hope the panel, and I'm confident the panel will be able to share their views, their experiences of what their contemporary modern leadership really can be and how we can learn from each other. It is important also to inspire the next generations. We're very lucky that we're getting older. Some people think that, oh, we're getting older is a bad thing, but actually it's a privilege to be getting older. So I just wanted to share my personal view and celebrate aging in a healthy and good manner. So it's important really to discuss which are the areas in contemporary leadership will inspire next generations and motivate us, energize us, and sort of inspire us to be able to achieve greater things for our communities. A system that is patient-centered is a system that defines that the quality of a system. We all might be practitioners, might be leaders, but we all can become patients at some point. It's just how human body is really, and the human mind. So it's important to consider this patient-centric approach in leadership. So we'll be able to hear from our esteemed panel. There's interesting insights to gain on organizational culture that we need to shape really to be able to sort of influence and positively make a change that it's lasting to create adaptable and sustainable systems. And I wanted to mention that we have quite an amazing panel here. I'm not going to spend most of the time exploring stuff that they have the qualities and experiences to share. I'd like to introduce the chair of the panel, John Happert, actually. I think he's around. John, you're here. John is going to do a great job to navigate through what is essentially an important question around what is contemporary leadership. And we have an esteemed panel from different places with different experience to contribute to this specific session. And I'd also like to invite Dr. Ziad Suleiman Khan, a member of the panel, who's coming from Tanzania. So welcome to you. We have Dr. Muna Abdul Radak Tahak, who is coming from UAE. Welcome to Dr. Muna. We have Mr. Arta Vaz, who is coming from Portugal. So, bon dia. Another opportunity to mention it one more time. And finally, we have Professor Bjorn Zega, who is the CEO from the Karolinska University Hospital in Sweden. So they will explore the mantras, the vision, the challenges, what inspires really their teams and the future generations. So please come on the stage.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to share with you the concepts around contemporary leadership. I'm John Hoppert, and I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of Grady Health System in Atlanta, Georgia. And I also have the honor of serving as chair of the American Hospital Association. Let me share with you just a minute about Grady Health System. Grady is a public academic health system of approximately 8,000 team members that serves the healthcare needs of Atlanta, Georgia, and the greater metropolitan area of approximately 6 million people. Grady, being a public academic health system, of course, as you all know, many of you serve that same function, is an incredibly complex organization. Grady is made up of a primary hospital that by the end of this year will be operating and staffing 906 beds. We also have a network of 10 comprehensive health centers built on the concept of getting care into the neighborhoods of need, where people live, and being able to promote health rather than just treating illness. Of course, at Grady, leadership is essential in everything that we do. We are leaders in the fields of trauma, neurosciences, cardiology, neonatal intensive care, and one of the largest research centers in the world for sickle cell disease and for HIV and AIDS. Before I jump into our topic of contemporary leadership, I would like to introduce my other panelists. You've heard their names, but now you can put a face and a name together. Dr. Zinat Khan, give him a wave, thank you, from Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Dr. Muna Talak from the UAE. Professor Dr. Bjorn Zoiga from Sweden. And Mr. Arthur Vaz from Portugal. As I mentioned, I am currently chair of the American Hospital Association, and I can say that one of the very best things about serving in that role is the opportunity to network and learn from hospital leaders around the United States. The thing I love about this conference with the IHF is that there are 90 countries represented this year, and I believe Ron said that's a record number of countries that have ever attended. I think that is an incredible milestone. And I could bet all of us that there are 90 best practices that I could learn from and you could learn from to improve our own healthcare systems. The other times I've attended this conference, I've gone back to my own institution enriched with knowledge of how to maybe do things different or do things better. And as the minister said, if we as healthcare systems don't move from systems of illness care to systems of wellness care, we will definitely lose the battle. Now, let me jump into this concept of contemporary leadership. We will spend the day learning from one another, but let us begin and level set what contemporary leadership looks like in healthcare today. Contemporary leadership draws on the core competencies of several existing management theories, all of which are probably familiar to you already. The thing I like about the concept of contemporary leadership is it brings together 4 management concepts that we all have practiced, but it brings the best of all of them into one leadership theory and brings the best all together into one. Just a reminder that we will be utilizing the app for questions and answers. So if you go to this session, go to Program on the app, and go to this session, there will be a Q&A button, and you'll be able to ask your questions, and we will be having a Q&A session just a little bit later. So there it is. Download your questions. Click the Q&A button. So these are the 4 leadership mantras or management styles that we will be discussing before we move into contemporary. Transformational leadership, which is quite widely utilized today. Leader-manager exchange, servant leadership, and authentic leadership. So let's begin by talking about transformational leadership. As we all know, transformational leadership in the healthcare field might focus on a shared set of values or shared set of ideas that help build relationships, help build vision and strategy to lead an organization. Transformational leaders are people who are charismatic, that inspire and motivate. They bring people together around a shared vision and create great energy to move the organization toward that vision. They challenge the status quo. They focus on intellectual stimulation to get the best out of every single team member. And lastly, they draw on individual contribution and consideration. Everyone who's a member of the team should have a voice in how the system meets its goals and moves forward. That transformational leader at the top has the ability to create that space, the empowerment, and the freedom for people to use their best talents and to bring their best talents to the table. Next is the leader-member exchange. This concept is really built around relationship. It's only natural that a leader may form different types of relationships with their employees. This model classifies relationships as being high quality or low quality. In a high-quality relationship, there is mutual trust and respect. The leaders and employees like each other and are both ready to go above and beyond to help the other's success. In a low-quality relationship, the leader and employees have lower levels of trust and respect. And needless to say, when that occurs, be it on the front line and on a single patient unit or in a department, the culture there will be quite stifling, and the employees won't be able to contribute the way that they would like. Of course, one thing we're not talking about today is authoritarian leadership. That would very much also look like a low-quality relationship. Hopefully, the days of do as I say, not as I do are long past. None of us want to ever return to the days where authoritarian leadership was utilized because it does not motivate people to do their best. Then we move to servant leadership. I spent many years in my early career studying leadership under the servant leadership model and very much ascribed to it. And you can see here how that plays out in the hospital environment. But to me, what it really states is that it is up to me as a leader to connect personally with each member of my team, instead of the converse, that they have to adapt to me and there is only one size that fits everybody. I have to understand how they think. I have to understand what motivates them. I have to understand their aspirations for moving forward in their careers. I have to understand how they then link to the total team so that we come together to move the organization forward. Servant leadership, as you probably know, is a concept developed in the 60s and has been very present today. Clearly, servant leaders are very much concerned about the relationships they have with others. And then we move to authentic leadership. This is about being yourself. The last leadership style I shared about my team, and regardless of the size of your organization, chances are you will lead and manage a variety of different people from different backgrounds and job functions. But what we learned through our authentic leadership is that while leaders of large organizations need to adapt in order to meet the challenges of the future, they have to rely on the individuals and allow them to be themselves, to bring themselves to the table, to practice high levels of integrity, to live their lives consistent with the values of the organization, but also leaders who solicit feedback and take that feedback and incorporate it into the future direction. So contemporary leadership in healthcare, what is that really all about? Contemporary leaders believe that the individual possesses leadership potential and will focus on leadership training and development of employees. It's essential as hospital leaders, healthcare leaders, that we develop leaders within our own institutions. I think oftentimes we assume that someone is promoted into a leadership position and we assume they bring with them the leadership skills to be successful, and that's not always the case. I know at least in the United States, we often promote people within the hospital that have very strong technical or clinical skills, but may never have developed keen leadership skills. And so we really have to work closely together to make sure that they are prepared and have the opportunity then to arise to new opportunities as they're presented within the organization. And you can see here how all of these other leadership styles come together. You don't need me to read that to you to really bring together what this looks like. There may be times when we must step out of our comfort zones, of course, to the current demands and challenges we are facing. I encourage all of us not to lose sight of the opportunity and the responsibility we have as leaders to guide and shape the important work of our institutions. Focusing on leadership, focusing on cultures that encourage each individual to do their best is imperative. And I think when we talk about the IHF, and the IHF bringing together 90 different countries, within those 90 countries are very different and varied cultures within their societies. And so how does our leadership style fit the culture of from where we come and whom we serve? Because we all may serve very different people. So the IHF has taken the opportunity to create a broader-based picture of leadership for healthcare leaders globally, based on the idea that there are such varying cultures across the world that may influence how we operate as leaders. And this model is based on the belief that management and leadership go hand in hand. Both are essential to achieve the results in a common vision. Management and leadership develop practices in hospitals, have shown positive results on health outcomes, patient experience, and hospital operational improvement. And in the face of global trends that are reshaping the healthcare sector, leadership is essential to drive hospitals forward. So now we are going to take a few minutes for myself and each of our panelists to share personal leadership mantras. And so this is a model that I have used for many years. It changes and morphs as we move through our experiences as leaders. But within Grady Health System, we really focus on this model because we want to make sure we have equipped individuals who are individuals of high talent. We want to make sure we've equipped them with the leadership skills they need to either be promoted up to the next level, to become an executive within the organization, or someday replace me as the president and the CEO. So on the upper left, we focus on what you know. what do you know? And this really focuses on technical skills, education, being a subject matter expert. This is, I'm going to be the director of the laboratories. Do I have the proper education and the proper skills to do that? And so you wouldn't proceed in becoming a leader within that role if you didn't meet those qualifications. And what is my experience? What have I done in my career? Have I done enough within my career to really become and contribute in a meaningful way? So the left side of this model really focuses on what I call the basics. They're the areas that you have to meet in order really to even move into being considered in a leadership role. Then we move to the right side, and so often I think we lose track of the importance of what's on the right side of this model. The right side is what I hold close, what I hold dear when I am looking at leaders and how they do their work. I have oftentimes said that I am equally interested in how you accomplish your goals as well as what you accomplish. And if you have accomplished the goal but created chaos within the organization to do so, then I don't consider you to be much of a leader. So we focus first on competencies. We develop competencies, and we gear our individual training of leaders around these competencies so that they can develop talent if they don't have them. Some come prepared with it, some have it naturally, some don't and need to be cultivated. So we create individual development plans for leaders, and through that, we develop the competencies you see here. So driving results, very important, making effective decisions, leading change, coaching and developing others is one of the top and foremost competencies, cultivating partnerships, and working with a sense of urgency. As the minister said, the demand for our services around this world are growing, sometimes faster than our ability to meet them. And everything we do has a steady sense of urgency of importance to be accomplished. And then the bottom right one to me is really, for me, one of the probably the most important quadrant on this graph. And it's the personal attributes of who am I? Who am I as an individual? What individual traits do I possess that can make me effective or not? Am I accountable, responsible, emotionally intelligent? At least in my world, what I see in the U.S. healthcare system is executive leaders that derail their careers and fail as leaders are those that have very low emotional intelligence. They are not aware of their own emotions and how they are seen in the world. Being professional, motivated, being a contemporary leader, being collaborative, and being a team player are incredibly important. So this is, for me, my mantra. This is the model I ascribe to. But we're going to hear from the other panelists as well who will be coming over to share with you their own mantras as well. And first, we will hear from Mr. Arthur Vaz from Portugal. Arthur?
Bom dia, everybody. When IHF invited me to speak about my leadership mantra, I accepted because I was very excited about this first plenary session. I've more than 40 years of leading people at several organizational levels, but I have to confess you, oh my gosh, I never had a mantra. How it was possible to spend more than 40 years in leading positions without a mantra? I felt an incomplete leader. I felt a mantra-less leader. So I confess I spent hours searching in the net about leadership mantras to inspire me. And I found two inspiring quotes. One from Fernando Pessoa, one of the most relevant Portuguese poets, that is, we are the size of our dreams. And another from Martin Luther King, a leader I've always admired. Be a bush if you can be a tree. If you can be a highway, just be a trail. If you can be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. They're beautiful, both of them. They are very impressive. They are very impressive and inspiring, but none really reflected my way of leading. Leadership is not just soft skills that you can learn and train. It is not just another technicality. Leadership is a set of feelings, of values, of behaviors and practices that one must consistently perform to gain teams' adhesion, trust, and respect. So I've spent some more hours trying to discover my touch, my way of leading, and I finally found it. 2 words that reflect what I am as a leader. Be there. Be there with a purpose, to give a sense to yours and your team's lives. Be there with objectivity and fairness, to be just with them. Be there with passion, to energize your doings and motivating your partners. Be there with empathy, to really understand your people. Be there as a server, because healthcare is mainly service to those who are in need. Be there an example to win the respect of your team. Be there together with your team, because nothing depends only on you. Be there and communicate to share vision, objectives, failures, and successes. Be there with trust, that is the root of teamwork. And be there with flexibility and open mind, because times and conditions are changing constantly. During my professional life, I was directly involved in the opening process of 4 general hospitals. 1 huge public teaching hospital, the biggest private Portuguese hospital, and 2 public-private partnerships hospitals. On total, more than 2,000 hospital beds. You know how complex it is to open a hospital from the scratch. But with no doubt, the more dramatic challenge I faced was COVID-19 just 3 years ago. I was leading a general hospital with 420 beds that during the worst times, 85% of its medical and surgical beds occupied by COVID patients. Trying to care of COVID patients and not forgetting non-COVID patients. Taking care of staff. Facing the scarcity of health professionals, equipment, consumables, and facilities. Completely redesigning the hospital operation and facilities. Leading with the daily uncertainty and the lack of public coordination of hospital response was a tremendous challenge. I was far away from my family during months. I nearly lived at the hospital. We used to have daily morning briefings with 20 or more people. We took and implemented hundreds of collegial decisions. I spent some time at the emergency room as a volunteer, providing the most basic care to COVID patients. And we did it. For 2 years, we successfully responded to the challenge. We were able to provide health care to COVID and non-COVID patients. We innovate the way we provide care. We strengthened our cohesion as a team. We emerged stronger from the crisis. That's why I'm so sure about my brand new leading mantra. Be there. Be humbly there to serve your team and your patients. Thank you.
We will next hear from Dr. Tulak. Thank you so much.
Bom dia. Good morning, everyone. So, I have a confession too. It was hard when I was asked to talk. What mantras do I have as a leader? And I did the same thing. I searched the net as well. But, but I have to tell you, it was, it helped me actually find out what is it that I do in my position, leading, that's, making a difference. I guess it is making a difference. And that's why I'm standing up here today. So I'm going to start actually telling you guys, I come from United Arab Emirates. Dubai is the city. And for a lot of you, it's a young country, but that has transformed significantly. And that transformation happened with our very visionary leaders. And I must say, when we were talking earlier, what do you want to learn and what do we want to show our youngs? So when we were growing up, we saw our leaders actually display these qualities that I think, it just embedded in us, and we grew up displaying those as well. Nothing was impossible to this country, and you just had to do your best, embrace and changes and go forward. I want to say authenticity is one of the important mantras that I always go by, because this is what we saw in our leaders. Really authentic about what they want to do, about caring people, about advancing the country and making it, home for really anyone and everyone. Whoever, we have more than, I think, 200 nationalities in Dubai, in UAE living, from very diverse region. And to bring all those people and live in harmony is just, amazing. So really being authentic and intending well. So this, I don't know how to explain it, but really, so my intentions is always the bigger good. Whatever I do is I think of what is the goal that we're trying to achieve. And for me, it's always a much bigger than just personal gain. How can I, in this position, serve better and serve the best interest of all? And I think all those traits were mentioned in the talk, but really the way I think about it and where I am today, I think this is one piece that has gotten me to where I am. So, I'll tell you about COVID time. It was February 27th, 2020, when we received our first case. I was the CEO of Women and Children Hospital in Dubai. This was a family that came from Wuhan and was infected, a parent, mother, father, a child, and a grandmother. So the mother and the child had to come to our hospital because we were the women and children. And, they were fine. I mean, they didn't have any major sickness. But however, it was the first case, very uncertain. We're still hearing things. Nothing is clear. It's very complex. So it wasn't just managing a patient, but it was managing the staff and actually dealing with their uncertainties. And I want to say it's being there when you're actually going to that isolated ward and there with your staff that makes a difference. I remember everybody getting infected around us every day. We would hear so-and-so, from the staff and even from the C-suite and the directors, but being present really every day there meant a lot to the staff, and it really gave to that authenticity and caring, a lot. And I think this is what keeps people going on and moving. Of course, a month later, all hell broke, loose, and the whole world actually went through it. Numbers were just increasing crazily, and I was put in charge of taking care of all hospital beds in Dubai and the critical beds. We're talking about a city that had around 30 plus hospitals, majority private, and we were in the government side, but the critical beds were more available in the government. So, and getting that now, speaking to a much bigger group and aligning really towards a common purpose, which was really taking care of patients, COVID or non-COVID, but not leaving a single life go unattended or not paid attention to. So really having our leaders on the ground with us was of great value to us, and that really role model to us. So that's what we were doing, and I believe embracing change, not only actually adopting, but embracing change is probably the second thing I feel is something I probably manage well, because we are in a constant change. And unless we do that, and we do that well, it's hard to lead, in this day of time. So just to conclude, after that COVID was over, by the way, just to share a story, so a women hospital for 30 years, we never had, even the children, we only catered till age 12. So above 12, a male would go to another hospital. When we were bombarded with the numbers of patients in our adult emergency in another hospital, we had to open up our hospital for male. So that was like, nurses, even male urinary catheterization was an issue because they never could deal with this. But again, it's through really being there with your team, working with them, nothing is impossible, and collaborating for the better good for all. Out of this whole COVID, and we know it, it had major impact, adversely affecting many, but I think it also had some good stuff coming out of it. And I'm really proud to say that today in Dubai, we have the first actually public academic organization with all pieces coming together. So not only the hospitals with serving, but we also have the university which will have the learning and discovery. And this might be common to regions around the world, but for our region really it's the first, and our vision is together we advance humanity, health for humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll hear from Dr. Khan.
Thank you, John. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Unlike my two other esteemed colleagues who once heard what needs to be the mantra and went into Google, I did a bit different thing. I sent the same email to my CEO group, my team, and asked them, guys, what do you think my mantra should be as the leader? Because I'm leading you guys. And then the flurry of discussion started, and it was so cool to hear from my team what they thought I was as a leader. And one of my colleagues, of course, I'm from East Africa, a woman, a nurse by training, and a healthcare executive. So bringing all these attributes in a pot, you get zenith. One of my colleagues said, how about a cheetah. Interesting. Savannah, Africa, Kenya, Tanzania. So that's where we started chatting. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal. Cheetah can run about 75 mph per, that's the speed of cheetah. But a bit unknown fact about cheetah is that they are very fast to run, they are also very fast to slow down. 8.5 mph when they have to slow down. So their heart rates can go up from 250 to 60. Bang. They have the most flexible vertebra and the bones and the hip bones, so they pivot very fast. The agility of the cheetah. Now bring all these things and you might have a bit of me. Sort of. And then we think, I thought of myself, my team. Cheetahs have the purpose. The mother cheetah always takes the cubs away and will be in a group and will teach the cubs how to hunt, how to prey, how to survive. Mother cheetah takes the time to chill when the babies are doing whatever they need to do. Cheetahs can be walking in a line, leading, hunting. And when you look at that, I thought to myself, what is my purpose? As a woman leader, as a nurse, I'm a role model to many women in my organization. As a nurse, many nurses look up to me and say, wow, Zenith, a nurse. That's the leading of as a purpose for me as a woman, as a nurse. As a health executive, I'm very privileged to work with an organization, Aga Khan Development Network. The Aga Khan Development vision and purpose is Iqra in healthcare. Iqra in Arabic means read, recite. I for impact. What impact are we making as institutions? I am making as an individual to the team I'm leading. Quality, Q. Whatever we do, whatever I do, I need to think, is this decision making any impact on quality? Important aspect in hospitals, patient-centeredness, staff satisfaction, our relevance. Are we relevant? Are my decisions, my leading the team relevant to the geography we serve? We are in East Africa, we are in Central Asia, we are in Southeast Asia. These are the countries where we live with daily changes of geopolitical situation, financial situations, economical issues, digital issues, and so on and so forth. Are we being relevant in our decision making and our leadership? And last of the A is, are we giving access? What and who are we serving? And we believe strongly, I believe strongly in a continuum of care and integrated health system from wellness to care. We cannot sit in our silos and say, we are just a hospital. We will take care of Congo, all the cancer patients in the hospital. It has to start with prevention all the way to rehabilitation. So that's the purpose of my leadership in the professional world. And that is what I try and do in my day-to-day leadership, is lead with purpose. But I cannot be a successful leader if I do not adapt with agility. And that's where the cheetah is coming. We need to turn. We need to think about Did we take a wrong decision? No problems. Did we do good risk assessment? And we are human beings. We could take wrong decisions. As a team, let's go back, look at what we did. As today's health system, today's healthcare environment, we have heard of many challenges. The environment I work in, the geographies I work in, double it, triple it in Africa, in Pakistan, in Tajikistan, in Afghanistan. That's the environment I work in, my network works in. So ladies and gentlemen, my mantra and my role model is right here. Lead with purpose and adapt with agility like cheetahs. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you so very much. Well done. And next we'll hear from Professor Bjorn Zoiga.
So good morning, everyone. Getting close to noon, though. It's a pleasure being here, and I wanted to just touch on a few things that is maybe not my mantra, but our mantra. The leadership of our hospital. This is the slide we start all our meetings with and end all our meetings with as well, before we start talking about something else. This is our mantra. One thing that the main thing is the togetherness, to work together as one hospital. Karolinska is a university hospital. Station has two main sort of places where we have together are close to 1,200 beds. We're a university hospital with a lot of research and both research money and researchers that need to fit into this, and you need to do everything there. You have to take care of the lighter things for the society that's closer to the hospital, and then you do for the whole country or the whole sort of the whole area, the more complicated things. So we have our vision is really clear. It's forward-looking. We will cure and relieve tomorrow that no one can cure and relieve today. We've come to be sort of very decisive on this one and very together on this one, because everybody knows this now. And we've been driving this actually as a mantra before COVID, probably about a week before we got the first COVID patient. And it helped us also working together. We were much stronger during the COVID crisis, and we have used that. You can say many negative things about the COVID crisis, but we've seen a lot of good things come out of it. We've seen that we can do impossible things. We can do a lot of more things if we work much more together instead of silos and taking care of just one clinic at a time. So our mission is that we are the best of the most difficult things, and we also try to take responsibility for our common resources. That's sort of a difficult task when you have socialized medicine like we have in the Nordics, and our closest university hospital that works a lot with us, they have lost money now 20 years in a row, before I came to the Karolinska in 2019, there were many years of redness. Now we've been in the black for 3 years running. So we take responsibility for our common resources. Our values haven't changed for the last 15 years with the responsibility, compassion, and the holistic perspective. And as a university hospital, we have our 3 legs that we stand on: the patient care and the patient production, the research and the research production, and the education as an educational production. The principles is that we are together as one hospital. We are empowering local leaders. I often say to our local leaders, I'm not running the hospital, you are running the hospital. I just try to help you and help you look forward, looking the right way. Then we need to sort of take care of the logistics. And the other thing that has been killing the system for the last year, sort of decade or so, is this administration. It's killing the system. We cannot afford it anymore. So we need to simplify it and reduce it, the administrators. And we just don't talk about it. We have, in 2019, we laid off 550 administrators. We have at our hospitals close to 16,000 employees. And this summer, we laid off another 450 administrators. Yeah, how can we manage? We have to do things differently. We have to simplify things. We have to do things differently. At these times, and this was so much clearer during the COVID crisis, that we could do so many things without all this administration. So just do it. And all this thing with the thing that we've been a culture before was, if somebody asked you to do something or asked you for, can you help us with that? People say, oh, well, yes, maybe. Let's look at this. Let's have some people look at it. And I'll get back to you in a couple of months. But now we say, oh yes, we'll do it. And we'll find the solution together. So our focus areas, as I told you earlier, that we are a global player or provider. That's one of the reasons I'm here talking about that. We have always the capacity and access at all times. We have the world-leading competence. We've seen that. We're ranked as the #1 hospital in Europe and #6 in the world. We have the best quality and patient safety, and we're very transparent on how we show that, both for other medical leaders or medical people, and also for our patients. You can just go on our homepage and see results of everything that you want to see. Always the patient satisfaction about different floors, as we call it. We don't have clinics anymore. The research that we do, we try to get it to the patient benefit as soon as possible. And we are extremely data-driven. We learned that during COVID, or even before COVID, if you were not data-driven, you would come wrong. And we would see that as the COVID crisis was more like a sort of the ultimate test of how you use and how you work with data. And I think other people around the world have seen this. It's not how you work smart with sort of toys or best machines, even though we have a lot of the best machines. It's how you work with data, how you use that to sort of plan your work, how you use that to sort of get your people going to the right goals. And I've seen that the other people around the world have also noticed that we do that. So we've now been in the top 10 of the world's smartest hospitals for 3 years running now. So this is our mantra. This is what we live by. This is what we do. This is put together by me, yes, but this is always we. That's how we lead. That's how we lead, and we need to lead it together, and you have the whole thing. One person is not the solution. It's the solution, and down on the floor, which I also used to say, power to the people. So power to those that are on the floor. They know the best. Thank you.
So Dr. Zoiga did bring up an issue that is important, I know, to all of us. I know at the American Hospital Association, one of our key action items is to make sure that we do everything we can to reduce the administrative and regulatory burden on hospitals in the United States. Just by a show of hands, would you say that the regulatory and administrative burden in your health system is excessive? Show of hands, yes. Yeah, vast majority. So clearly we have a global issue with the cost of the administrative burden in healthcare. And when you think about the millions and millions and millions of dollars that could be saved and the energy saved to be refocused, it's tremendous. So thank you for that moment of privilege. And now we'll move on to a panel discussion. and the panelists received the questions in advance. But I'm going to ask one member to lead off on a question, but then the others please join in. So Mr. Vaz, you did mention in your lead-in about how adaptive you had to become during the pandemic. So can you share with us how what your leadership looked like coming out of that situation? What did you change about it versus prior to the pandemic? And we have microphones here for everyone.
I think COVID made me to be closer to my people, because in normal days we don't need to be so close to people, because people keep going, business as usual. But in most, it was a more immersive way of leading, if you want, because I have everyday meetings with the other leaders of the organization, and we have really to take decisions over our knees, because everything is changing every day. So each day we knew something different from the previous day, because science is being made about COVID, and the decisions of the public authorities are coming every day. So really what was different from my way of leading is that I'm more in depth with people, and it was an everyday issue, you see, because really 7 days a week we have to take decisions to change something, to adapt something, to improve something, and really the most difficult thing was to support our staff, because our staff are with a tremendous burden of work, with the uncertainty of clinical issues about treating COVID patients, and also they also are away from their families, and really I think that we came from the COVID period stronger, because we knew better everybody from the hospital, the staff from the hospital, and we feel that we are winners of the process, not losers, and that is very important to make a team stronger. So I think that I didn't change nothing of the essential of my way of leading, but it's a more immersive experience, if you want.
Thank you very much. I think it's very insightful when you shared and mentioned the impact on the mental and emotional health of healthcare workers throughout that period of time. You know, our human brain, I think, is designed to be able to handle chaos for shorter periods of time. Chaos over a 3-year period of time really did take a toll, and we saw that, and we still see it. We see the after effects of that, and how that ties to leadership, I believe, just as you said, is how have we changed and responded as an institution to meet those needs, those emotional and mental health needs, and the supportive nature that we're creating within our culture to make sure we do that with all of our providers, everyone who works within our walls. So thank you for that. This next question is the one that none of them probably want to be asked. And so we're going to ask Dr. Khan. She drew the lucky straw. The question is, describe a leadership failure and what you did to adjust or learn. There we go.
When I was speaking, I said we all can make mistakes, and let's not shy away from them. So this question is is not something which I have shied away from. And my team and we as an institution are open to risk-taking, calculated, and making mistakes and looking at them as well. One of the, when I wouldn't call it mistake, but yes, miscalculation is something which absolutely happened and happens in everyone's life and in my life as well. And that was about really a huge decision on going for a project, one-time project in our organization outside our comfort zone of geography we live in. So I'm in East Africa, I understand Kenya, I understand Tanzania, I understand Uganda, but I do not understand the French-speaking African region. And we decided that we would like to explore, we would like to go. I think we underestimated or rather overestimated ourselves in thinking that we can go there and jump in and conquer the world. So we took a few steps back and we said, all right, guys, let's get back, let's sit around the table. What did we miss? And it's not that we did not think through it before, especially French-speaking human resources. That is where we miscalculated. We knew there is market, we knew there is need, we knew all those things, but where we missed was that do we have enough appropriately qualified individuals locally who could lead and take our flag forward, or do we have to export staff from where we live? So it was a great learning experience for us. The good thing is that we had not gone too far, so retracting was not that difficult. We again hurdled ourselves, did the strategies, different strategies, and eventually we did go into that new market, and we are doing well. So again, learning for me and my team. Some of these are essential aspects of thinking and strategic planning.
Very good. Well, great example of how leaders identify quickly a miscalculation, recalculate, move forward, and in this case, achieve success. I forget the exact phrase, but it's fail quickly, fail fast, and don't as a leader not admit that we did something wrong and that we failed and regroup. Let's do that sooner than later. So great example. So Professor Zoiga, what do you think the requirements are for the next generation of leaders, and how do we develop them? How do we make sure they're armed for the future of healthcare, given your environment and your healthcare industry?
Well, so how do we say that ready? They need to know the business. They need to work themselves from the floor. That's my solid belief. I think we've tested some other models, at least in the Nordics, and they've, I'm not saying completely failed, but failed for that, and I think we need to, that's what we need to do. I don't think we need to, at least in the beginning, train them specifically, but because you need to get the leaders out. I'm not talking about managers, I'm talking about leaders. Mm-hmm. And the leaders, they will develop when they're working within the business, and they will develop, and then we need to take care of them when we see them as leader potentials, and then we have to sort of arm them with good examples from other industries. Like we in Karolinska, we now are, we have a so-called mini MBA with the business school, the Stockholm Business School, which is one of the most prestigious one. We put a lot of money into to our 80 persons that are going through that course, and they have to work, and they're not working with hospital stuff or healthcare stuff. They're working with stuff and learning from what other industries have done, both in logistics and how you use psychology to sort of lead and how you take care of groups. So I think in that way, if we can mix together all the knowledge of knowing the business from working in it and being a leader as a person, and then giving them the right tools with experience from other industries, because most healthcare workers, even the nurses, which we have a lot of going through our programs, and doctors, they're very sort of siloed with knowing very well what's going in the healthcare, but they have not enough knowledge of what other industries have learned how to rule, how to be leaders, and how to lead in different industries where you can learn a lot from.
Thank you so much for that. And one of the past chairs of the American Hospital Association, Dr. Rod Hochman, is here with us, and he's a great example within Providence Health System of bringing in talent from other industries into the senior leadership of that organization to learn best practices. He's based in Seattle, so he has access to Microsoft and all of these really highly developed IT companies, and he's bringing in individuals from different industries into key roles, such as Chief Information Officer, and learning and doing things differently that you can adapt. I think, as you said, and you've done a great job of offering that MBA program to leaders who may not have that skill, but then they're prepared. But one thing I really loved you said is then providing them with the tools they need to be successful. Because one of the most frustrating things is I may have the full package, but my institution isn't providing me with the tools to be successful. And so that is very well done. So now we're going to ask one last question, and there's one last panelist. Dr. Talak, what actions have you taken within your organization to promote the concepts of contemporary leadership?
It's on? Yeah, okay. I think we always have this argument about, leaders versus managers, and where is that line? We know it's a big, different. It's different to be a leader and different to be a manager, but it's, I think, through, people that manage well, we start identifying and then, giving them those tools to allow them to become good leaders. So I think one of the great roles that we as leaders play is role modeling. Role models are extremely important in our roles for people to see, because no matter how much you're gonna, read and attend, it's unless you're seeing somebody do and lead by example, I think is critical. I'll go back to even as, as a resident, it was really those, attendings or physicians when taking care of patients. It's not the technical part that we were just learning. We were learning a lot of other soft skills, and it matters, as you grow and you embed these characteristics. So I think really that's very important. So be, as they say, talk the talk and walk the walk. So, that's extremely important, and that's what we try and do in our, place. And then I think on the other side also, we actually, because we know it's important to have the new generations and the new leaders, really put systems in place for the succession to happen. So this is also very critical, and we're developed actually, or in a place where we're developing a leadership academy to our academic health system, where people will be going through that and, you know, more in a formal basis, hopefully, and give them that tool also to be able to be the next generation leaders.
Thank you so much. So that, you know, mentioning succession planning, that's not something that happens occasionally. That's something that should be happening continuously in our organizations. And one of my great areas of focus is preparing highly talented individuals within the organization to be able to be successful and move into that next position, but providing them with that leadership education to fill the gaps that they may not have in their competencies or personal traits, and the ability then for them to become senior leaders and do the same for others. I think that's one of the greatest gifts and responsibilities we have for the people in our organizations. So next, we're going to move to the Q&A. And I'm going to quickly look at a couple of questions here. I know one of the questions that I think is really important is, how do we as leaders incorporate the concepts of equity of care into what we do as leaders? And here I'm just looking for a volunteer who may want to answer that, or we can voluntold if we need to. Dr. Khan was shaking her head, so
Equity of care?
Equity of care, yes.
A very deep question, difficult question. The institutions and again the geographies we work in, we do not have the access to our governmental funds, the ministry funds, to provide universal health system. And we, as private not-for-profit institutions, the burden is on us to look at how do we provide equitable care to our patients. And John, did I understand the question correctly?
Right.
And I think we all, as healthcare administrations, we do look at our P&Ls. We have our financial commitments to meet as the CEOs or the leaders. But with that comes the responsibility of also reaching to the population who might not be able to come to us. And I could speak for my organization. We are very involved with our communities for starting from prevention. I will give you a classic example of a project we are doing, which is called Tanzania Comprehensive Cancer Project, TCCP, and the gurus of those are sitting around somewhere here. And we have a poster as well outside. We took the whole spectrum of cancer, from prevention, mobile clinics, early detection of breast cancers, going to care. Yes, it was limited for us, but we worked with our government hospital, public institutions. So we did a strong public-private partnership. And then we are also looking at how do we involve the communities, not just the patients, but the media, the other civil servants, etc. So it's not easy. There is no cookie-cutter answer to it. My view is that as an organization, as leaders, we need to take that upon us to work small bites, step by step. That's my view.
Great, thank you very much. Anyone want to add anything?
So adding on from the government perspective, so, I come from that side. I think we all face, the rising costs, and I think it's always a concern. However, I think access and equal access is basic, and that's essential, and it should be for everyone. So what we've done really is we developed, mechanisms around to support and help that, and I think, having a foundation today in our system is a big support. The Philanthropy Foundation and really supporting that mission of ensuring access to even people who do not have the access to get health care. Because I think, again, I say this, it's a basic human right. And unless we all collaborate together, that's not going to happen. And again, it's not just, as was said, it's not just the private players or the government. It has to be together and integrating care and really providing the care for that person. Now, again, not easy. It takes a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversation there, but that's the way we do it.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very important that because without access and equity of care, we don't really create healthy communities if we don't get to that point. So there's a question in here that I think is really critical, and of course I don't know who asked it, but I want to thank them for asking it. And Grady Health System is an academic health system. We're the primary teaching hospital for the Emory School of Medicine and for the Morehouse School of Medicine. And this is an issue that throughout my career I've worked in academic medicine, and I have found this to be an issue in our healthcare system. And the question was from a physician that leadership is not something I was taught in medical school or in my residency. And how should we, within our academic environments, be incorporating leadership development and education with medical students, residents, et cetera, as they go through the process? Professor, you want to tackle that?
Yep. This is a question that I asked a lot of, and I don't think teaching any of this in medical school to be a leader will help. When you get to the point that you have residents, yes, this should be something that they know, and not only just to prepare the leaders, it's also for the people that they're going to lead to understand what leadership is about and accepting the leadership and why you need the leadership. So let the medical students do their things and be doctors, and even for the nurses, but the next step, when they're sort of incorporating this into a professional life, yes, make everybody do it. Don't pick out what you think are the leaders at that time. Just make everybody do it and try to. Then after that, you can start looking at leaders, but then the other that don't be leaders, they understand a little bit about leadership and would be more accepting to that.
Great. Anyone else? Oh, yes, Dr. Khan.
I sort of differ with my esteemed colleagues. I agree with him that at the residency it should be made much more stronger. But I think undergraduate is where the young pupil are, they're learning. Their brains are learning the skills and the competencies. And I feel that not necessarily a leadership, lots of long credit hours, but the importance of teamwork, importance of quality, importance of basic working of a physician, understanding of health economics, opening up of 3 sterile packets versus 1. Some of these basic things related to healthcare management, teamwork, etc., I would strongly think that academics should bring that as in the undergrad medical school. So that's my view as the undergrad.
Okay, Professor has a comment.
Yeah, I have I strongly disagree because we tried it.
Oh, we love a good debate.
But I personally tried it. You did. And
the teamwork has to, that you should teach us in every day in every class. Exactly. So that has nothing to do with the leadership, the teamwork. So, and the other stuff, it makes the undergraduate think they can start doing their career in leadership or management before they're sort of ready. So we tried a few of these things in different Nordic countries, and I've only seen failure from it. Sorry.
Well, so, and here again, we're going to learn from the mistakes of others. But I will just say, at least in the United States, academic medical centers have a little pull and tug with the American College of Graduate Medical Education, because to even get time available within a residency to have a discussion about leadership is very limited. And at least where we have been reducing resident hours and limiting access to the residents, the medical school is so focused on the clinical training. When we asked to set up leadership development for those who are interested, the comment is, well, they don't have time. So we've got to address that pull and tug, but I think it's incredibly important. So I think we do have time for one or two more, and this one's a doozy, and I think it's a great question. And it says, thank you all for the positive attributes of good leaders, but as a new leader, how do I tackle a negative culture coming into a new job? All right, Arthur.
Okay, I think that leadership skills are also a question not only of training and experience, but also is a personal way of achieving things and improving every day. I think one of the most critical issues nowadays is the ethical aspects of leadership. We're facing new technologies in artificial intelligence. We're facing the power of social media and the power to produce fake information and fake science. And I think ethical will be one of the most important aspects to be considered in the future leadership. One must have strong ethical values and must show them and must apply them to all the activity as a leader, because I think that we are going to waste or to spend more time fighting against the new truth, the new, I don't know if it's an agenda, but it's a phenomenon, at least, the fact that everybody can say everything about whatever is the subject. And just because you said it, it becomes true. And that's an awful, horrifying thing that we have to know how to deal with, because this can destroy an organization. This can destroy easily teams that we can create it before, because this is the French have a word is zizanie. This is the seed of war, of conflict between people. And I think this is one of the most important features in the future of leadership, either in healthcare or in another area.
Yes. Thank you. I'll share a story. I like storytelling. So we had two hospitals, both children hospital beside each other. And, the decision was made that all could be shifted to one rather than just, duplicating, and why have them across. And, you know, I thought, well, that's a very easy thing to do. It's pediatrics and pediatrics, you know, nothing different. But, I mean, culture, honestly, was the most challenging task that we had to deal with, because truly it's, you know, culture can really fail whatever, you know, projects you have. So going back to the question, I think the way to deal with it is really living the values that you have in the organization. It's important to stick to these values, to live it, actually role model it, and always go by it, and have your vision as the North Star to be able to overcome that.
Thank you. Both great answers. And, you know, as leaders, this is a tough one, but it is a situation where you're very clear with that, wherever that negative culture is, about reiterating the values, the expectations that we will live by those values, the expectations of job performance, the expectation that, yes, you will be supported, but then the courage to take action if that doesn't happen. And being able to show within that environment that that type of behavior just can't be tolerated, because the majority of people probably are sitting there saying, you know, we got one or two bad apples here that are really dragging down the organization or the culture. And we've got to be willing and have the courage to address that. So I'm being told that is our last question. Can we give a round of applause to our panelists for their involvement, honesty, and I appreciate your work. A few parting comments. Please share your experiences and your takeaways via social media. And always remember, #IHF Lisbon. Lunch will be served in the dining area in the exhibit hall downstairs at 12, and then at 12:30, the parallel sessions begin. Also, make sure you look into the Innovation Hub, and also, would you please check out the posters and vote. Thank you so much, and that ends our session.